Hey guys, Scare9 here, welcome back to my channel today, and this is going to be my official guide on how to complete the Reckoner seal and get to the Reckoner title within Destiny 2. Now, I do want to say this is one of the most time-consuming titles in the game, in my opinion. You have to play an insane amount of Gambit Prime, and you have to do an insane amount of the Reckoning. So, if you do not like either of those activities, maybe consider not going for this title. It is very heavily themed on farming and grinding these activities out, so just make sure you take your time. You expect that you're going to have to spend a lot of time getting it, and most importantly, space out your play sessions so you don't burn yourself out. Also, my most important tip, regardless of what else I say in this guide, get a team. Get 3 consistent players that you play with, rotate in and out with different people, I do not care, but honestly, this is going to take half the time if you're doing it with a group of people that you trust and will help you along the way, rather than just a bunch of randoms who are going to be stealing your kills and doing things like that and making it incredibly difficult for you to complete your challenges. So get a team, take your time, expect to spend a lot of time within these spaces in Destiny, and most importantly, just have fun with it. So let's just go through all of these triumphs and break them down. The first one is going to be the badge. I'm going to break this one down a little bit later because it's harder, so I'm going to save it towards the end of the video. We'll come back to that. The next 4 of them are just winning Gambit Prime matches while wearing the full Notorious sets for the 4 respective classes, which are going to be Sentry, Invader, Reaper, and Collector. Once you get all 4 Notorious sets, just win a game. Super easy. We'll go over some tips for that in a little bit, but these 4 triumphs, very easy. The next one is called Swift Reckoning. Complete a time trial run of tier 3 in the Reckoning. Out of the 113 runs required for me to get this title, 93 of them were time trials according to this triumph. So I don't know what the time is, but obviously we weren't trying for any of those. It's incredibly easy to hit, so I wouldn't worry about that one at all. The next one is called One Skip Ahead. Complete all 3 stages of tier 3 of the Reckoning without dying. Now this is for both bosses, so you have to do this during the likeness of Oryx week and during the following week when it is the swords. This one, once again, isn't that bad. If you have a team, a very coordinated team, you make sure you have at least one well, everyone's supers are going, you're play during good modifiers, that sort of thing. This is very easy and is honestly pretty trivial. I got this a bunch of times where I didn't mean to get it, and I'm sure you guys will too, so it's not that bad. The next one, Get Wrecked, is just to kill a bunch of things. As you can see, super easy. This one will just happen. Like I said, it took me 113 completions. By the time I finished this and got all the weapons, I had completed this triumph like 10 times over. So it's not bad at all. This one will come naturally. And then the next one that you have to do is Acquire Thorn. Once again, you have to play a ton of Crucible. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but if you do want to master the Season of the Drifter and become a Reckoner, you're gonna have to grind it out. And it's, you know, pretty straightforward. It's tough, but it's not that bad in terms of how confusing it is and stuff. You just have to get in there and grind it out. So past all of those things is where it starts to get kind of difficult. And this is why I think this guide is necessary, because I want to break down some of my greatest tips in terms of how to complete these different things. There is a ton of RNG involved with the seal. Luckily, Bungie has made a couple of changes that will make this way easier on your life. But this first part that we're going to talk about is mostly associated with completing the badge for this triumph. Most of it's pretty easy, consisting mostly of the Notorious sets. Just run a ton of tier 3 Reckoning. Of course, that's how you get all of the armor sets except for the helmets. And this is where my biggest tip is. The helmets can easily be seen as the most tedious part, since the only way to get them is through the Drifter's bounties. However, there's a cool trick that you can do to skip a lot of time and just make this as efficient as possible. So every time you earn a certain rarity of a helmet, the tier directly below that one becomes available to drop for every single class of helmets. So let's say you do the Sentry Helmet bounty every week. The first week you get it, you get the illicit Sentry Helmet. That's great. The second week, whenever you complete the same bounty, you will get the outlawed version of the Sentry Helmets. And now, if you put in tier 1 motes, you have a chance to get all 4 of the illicit helmets from completing whatever tier of the Reckoning you are doing. However, this is only good for the tier below it. So like I said, you have to earn the outlawed helmet. When you do that, you can start earning all 4 of the illicit helmets, and they can start dropping if you put in the green motes into the machine. Now, this same thing works with Notorious Helmets. Whenever you get your first Notorious Helmet, let's say you complete the Sentry one for the 3rd week in a row, you get your Notorious Helmet. Now the outlawed versions of the helmets will drop whenever you insert a tier 2 mote. That is very, very, very useful for saving you a bunch of time, so you don't have to complete a total of 12 bounties. You only have to complete a total of 6. Grind up to your first Notorious Helmet, then make sure you farm out the other 3 outlawed helmets that you don't have, and then once you get those, complete the remaining 3 helmet bounties to get your Notorious Helmet to drop. It is a huge time saver. You should do this on all 3 characters, and honestly, if you don't do it this way, you're probably just wasting a ton of time. The next part of the badge is to get all of the weapons. This is all about RNG. When I did it, only 4 of the weapons dropped from Gambit Prime. All of the rest had to come from the Reckoning. However, Bungie just changed it, so this doesn't happen to other people. It took me 113 total tier 3 runs to get all of my weapons because my RNG was terrible. They didn't want that to happen to other people, so they're making some changes. So a ton more weapons drop from Gambit Prime. In fact, the only 3 weapons that are now exclusive to the Reckoning are Gnawing Hunger, the Just in Case Sword, and the Doomsday Grenade Launcher. Currently, the Gnawing Hunger and the Doomsday drop from the Likeness of Oryx, and the Just in Case drops from the swords. However, I assume there's going to be some shuffling around with that with this update on Tuesday, but we don't know. So if they still have specific bosses, more than likely they just drop from the things I just said, but I imagine there's going to be some rotating of that. Now keep in mind the Reckoning milestone also will give you one of these weapons, and then doing the first part of the Drifter's quest on each of your characters also gives you a guaranteed new weapon. So if you're just missing one of these weapons, make sure you have all of those things done, and just get as many chances as possible. But more than likely, you're just gonna have to farm this out like I did, and hopefully it won't take you 113 tries. And the last thing for the badge is going to be the Prime Pallet shader. This just comes from a curated Gambit Prime weapon, so if you farm out, while you're doing all your triumphs, and you get a second, say like bug out bag or something, just dismantle it and you'll get yourself the shader. And finally, we have reached what I consider to be by far the most difficult part of this quest, the Notorious Triumphs. There are 4 of these triumphs, one to prove your proficiency in each class. Do not save these guys for last. Start working on them as soon as possible when you're doing your milestones every week, when you are farming your Notorious Helmets through the bounties, that sort of thing. Make sure you are working on these. You only need to have 3 pieces of Notorious armor plus a synth active in order to get your 10 points to activate your 3 perks and thus activate the aura. There's a common misconception that you need to have the entire set for the aura. That is incorrect. You just need the 3rd perk active, which like I said requires a minimum of 3 armor pieces and a active synth. It's super easy and it makes it so you can start working on this very, very quickly. The order I would recommend doing these in is Sentinel, Collector, Invader, and then finally Reaper. Everything can kind of be moved around a bit to fit your personal preference, but absolutely save Reaper for last. It has a challenge to defeat 50 high value targets, and if you grind this out initially, you're going to be wasting a ton of time. The correct way to grind out your 50 high value targets is to just be doing all the other sets. So like, let's say you're being Sentinel and you're killing blockers. If you see the text in the bottom left-hand corner that says there's a high value target wandering the field, immediately go into your inventory, switch over to your Reaper armor set, go kill it, and then switch back to your Sentry armor set and that sort of thing. This way you're not playing 50 games exclusively to find the high value targets. You're being as efficient as possible, so while grinding out your other Notorious Triumphs, you are able to get those high value targets as well, because 50 straight games just to kill those is insane. That's just ridiculous. Don't do that. So let's just go through these one by one and I'll give you some quick tips. So the first one is Sentry. The hardest part for a lot of people is the Locksmith medals. This just means that you have to be the person to kill the last taken to unlock your bank 3 times in one game. It's super easy, especially if you have a team. You just need to make sure that when the bank closes, you kill a taken, the bank opens, and then it will close again, and then it'll open again whenever you kill the blockers, etc., etc. 3 times. If you have done this correctly and not earned another synth in that match, a Sentry synth will pop up on your screen letting you know that you have completed it. You just need a couple of these for that. Other than that, honestly, you just have to kill blockers, which you should just be doing anyways. You have to mark invaders. Once again, you just have to get 1 bullet on them. It's super easy. It's not that bad. That's why I'm putting it first. The next one is going to be Collector. Super easy, self-explanatory. Go for the giant blockers first and do it with a team. The next one is going to be the Invader. Draining the motes is where a lot of people have problems here because everything else is pretty easy. A lot of people just, they're a little bit too reckless with it. They'll just run into the center not wanting to kill anyone. If you need to, you should kill a couple of people. I recommend popping your super, killing 1 or 2 people on your way to the center, and then just standing on that point. While you are in your super, everyone is going to scatter. It is very rare that you'll find someone who challenges you, and thus that makes this incredibly easy. Never kill more than 3, obviously, because if you kill 4, you'll be transported back. I say, try not to kill more than 2. If someone's shooting at you, obviously you have to kill them. But honestly, you should be able to get this done in about 8 or so games because it's really not that difficult. Everyone runs away from you. If you have a team that challenges you, just accept your losses, move on to the next game, that sort of thing. But just pop your super, make them run away, sit on the bank, and just reap the benefits. And the final one is going to be the Reaper. This one's really easy as well. The 50 high value targets, we already talked about it. Make sure you are constantly working on these while doing the other 3 classes. Switch that armor set, kill the high value target, switch back, that sort of thing. Then everyone is having trouble with the Massacre Medals. This one, I would say there are only 2 viable classes for this. I would say Arc Strider with the Raiden Flux or the Sentinel with Doomfang Pauldrons. Now, you can also do the Sentinel that lasts forever. I've seen a lot of people getting lucky with that. The only problem is that does not seem to do as much damage, so you might run into kind of trouble with that, but the mobility is very high, which is very nice. And then maybe Dawnblade with the perk that makes you get kills, and then it extends the duration of the super. However, I did not play a lot on Warlock during this. Actually, I did not play on Warlock at all during this, so I cannot speak to that. I would just recommend standing on Arc Strider, playing with the team. Whenever it gets to a side where all the enemies spawn very compactly, just telling your teammates, hey, back off, let me kill everything, please don't touch anything, just to increase your chances of getting those 12 rapid kills. But yeah, that is going to be the entire thing. This is going to take a lot of time to get the Reckoner title. Like I said, it is one of the most time-intensive medals in Destiny. It takes a lot of farming, a lot of grinding, and a lot of teamwork. So make sure you have some friends on. If you don't have any friends, hit up LFG. If you don't have internet access, then you shouldn't even be playing Destiny because it is online only. But yeah, that's going to be it. Good luck, guys. Have fun grinding out your Reckoner titles. And yeah, just have some fun. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like rating and to share it with your friends. If you are interested in watching either of the 2 videos on screen, you can click their respective annotations to be taken to them. If you're brand new to my channel, make sure to hit the giant version of my logo on screen to be subscribed to my awesome Destiny videos and live streams. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you in my next video.